If you create content on YouTube, or if you want to work with clients that do, you're going to want to see this. One of the biggest pain in the butt tasks that comes with content creation is creating a thumbnail. You used to have to pick between low cost and high quality, but now with AI, you can have both. Today, I'm going to show you how to build a YouTube thumbnail generator that produces professional, click-worthy thumbnails for only 9 cents an image. I help AI automation freelancers land high-ticket clients and retainers with builds just like this. If that's you, click the link down below and join my free school community. You can take part in the free 4-week challenge to land your first or next AI client. Now let's dive in. Okay, so the way this generator works is that there's a webhook that receives data from Airtable, and what Airtable contains is a title idea for a video and an idea summary. So basically the user is going to come in here, they're going to look at the title and the idea summary, and then they're going to click this button to generate a script. Now, if I actually click this, what's going to happen is in Airtable, I set up a script to run so that it's going to generate a JSON payload and send it over here to this webhook. Then that's connected over here to the Kai API or key. I'm actually not sure how to pronounce it, but either way. But basically, the cool thing about that API is that it's able to connect to Nano Banana Pro. And so that model is amazing. It just came out and it's mind-blowing. And so what this first HTTP node does is it actually generates the request. So it takes the prompt for the thumbnail, sends it to the API and says, hey, use Nano Banana Pro to generate this thumbnail. I also have a publicly hosted image of myself embedded in this request so that when it's creating the thumbnail, it's using me as like the subject of the thumbnail. And then there's a 1.5-minute wait step. So that's how long basically it takes for Nano Banana Pro to process the request. And then there's another HTTP request, which actually goes and retrieves the image. And then the Airtable database is updated with that new thumbnail. So let me show you how the full system works in action, and then I'll show you how to build it. And just to let you know, these prompts, like the content ideas, the idea summary, and the thumbnail prompts, all come from a larger system that I'm building for a client. And so I can't show you all of the secret sauce that goes into how those are created, but I can show you how to build the rest of the system, which can save you or make you thousands of dollars in the next year. Okay, so I'm just going to come here to my interface and I'm going to select one of these ideas. So if I click on this, the idea summary is this video provides a precise, actionable 4-step process to efficiently scale AI implementation in any business, resonating with comments that are seeking real business growth strategies. It taps into the client's strengths in offering practical success paths through a structured and motivational approach. So I like the sound of that. So I'm going to click here on this button that says Generate Script. And as you can see up here, it's saving. Okay, so all changes have been saved. If I come over and look at the executions in N8N, so we can see that it hit my webhook. It processed through the first HTTP request node. It hit the wait step, and it's still in the process of running. So we're going to wait for that to finish running, and then I'm going to pull all of that into the editor so that we can actually see what that execution looks like. So while that's running, I'm going to come back over to Airtable. I'm going to close this, and I'm just going to actually go back to view the data in the table. Okay, so here's all the title ideas, the idea summary, the thumbnail idea, and if I go all the way to the right, you can see that this is the button that I clicked to generate the script. And so momentarily, we're going to see the URL come through, and this is the raw JSON that came through the request, and then this is the cleaned URL, so I can click on this, and it's actually going to download the thumbnail that was generated. All right, so if we open that up, so there's me, AI success, growth, there's my thumbnail. Okay, so let's go back over to N8N and see what is actually happening behind the scenes. Okay, so we can see that the full workflow ran. I'm going to copy this to the editor. And one thing I do want to mention is, like I said, I have a script set up in Airtable so that basically when that automation, so like I said, I have a script set up in Airtable so that when the user clicks that button that generates the script, it's going to send a webhook. It's going to send a JSON payload to this webhook. So if you've been wondering about how to set up Airtable to do all these fancy things because it's the most amazing tool out there, definitely subscribe because actually I'm going to be dropping a video next week that goes through Airtable and all of the cool things that it can do. But if we come in here, we can see these are the items that are coming across from our Airtable script that we ran. So we have title idea, idea summary, the thumbnail idea, and then my email. And the reason why I'm doing it for testing, but it's going to generate an email to the user saying, hey, here's your thumbnail. And then let's go into the first HTTP request node. So like I said, we're going to be using the Kai or Key, I'm not even sure which one it is, API. And so first we need to sign up for an account there. So it's just KIE.ai. I already have an account. You can just sign up for a free account. But what you want to do is come to AI Image API and click Nano Banana. Okay, next I'm going to click Run with API. Okay, so now I'm going to click Nano Banana Pro. And if I scroll down, I can go to get my API key. So I'm going to click there. This is my API key. It just comes with a default one. You can also create one here, but we're just going to grab that and hold on to it. So we'll come back to N8N. And now that we have our API key, we want to send a post request to this URL. All right, so we want to turn send headers on, and then we're going to send one header parameter, and that's authorization. And then the value is going to be bearer and then your API key. Obviously, this is just a placeholder. We're also going to be sending the body, and we're sending it as JSON using JSON. Now, if we open this up, one thing I do want to point out is that I'm using this as my reference image. So basically, it's going to put a picture of me in every single thumbnail because it's using this as a reference. And all of my thumbnail prompts are going to say, the creator is doing this or the creator is doing that. And so whenever it hears that the creator is doing something or pointing to something or looking a certain way, it's going to use my image to be that creator. And so basically you do need to have a publicly hosted image file. And that means that it ends in like .jpg or .png, something like that. But an easy way that you can do that is just by coming to bb.com, sign up for a free account. You can also use their API if you have one of their paid plans. But if you want to start simple, you can just create a free account, click upload. You're going to put your image in there, click upload. It's going to take a second. And then you want to make sure that the embed code says direct links, because again, we want something that has the actual image file and not just HTML or like the web link of where that picture lives. So grab that link right there, and then we'll come back over to N8N, and your link is going to go right in here between these quotation marks. Okay, so this is the expression that we're going to use. So the model is Nano Banana Pro. The input, we have our prompt, which is the JSON body from the thumbnail idea. And this prompt can actually change, obviously, depending on the source of where the data is coming in from, meaning, is it coming from like an N8N form? Like, is the user just prompting in N8N that whatever the idea is that they have for a thumbnail? Or is it coming from Airtable? Or is it coming into a webhook from another application? But that prompt may change. In this case, we are just dragging it and dropping it from here in our webhook trigger, the thumbnail idea. And I'll show you a couple other ways that you can get that data in there. But then the image input is going to be our image, like the image that we just posted to IMGBB. The aspect ratio is going to be 16:9. The resolution, I'm just using 1K. 1K is 9 cents per image. And honestly, I don't care about having a 4K resolution on my thumbnail. And then the output format we have specified as PNG. Okay, and then we're going to add a wait step. Like I said, it's for about 1.5 minutes. You can put it to 2 minutes if you want to be on the safe side. But for my testing, 90 seconds was fine. And the reason for that is we need to wait for the image to actually be generated before we can then retrieve it. All right, so next we're going to set up another HTTP request node. And this one is going to be a GET request. This is the URL that we are sending the request to, and we're going to toggle on send query parameters. And then the only parameter that we're sending is the task ID, which we're just dragging and dropping from over here on the wait step. And then if we scroll down, we're going to want to send headers. And again, we're turning on authorization, and we're going to send bearer and then our API key. Now, depending on where it is that you're going to be sending this link, you could stop here, or you could add like an email node or a code node that strips out the JSON that's kind of wrapping around the URL that you want to get to the image. For the purposes of the workflow that I'm building for this client, I'm going to deposit that URL into Airtable. So going back to Airtable, it's going to end up right here. The thumbnail URL is going to be the whole little, so the thumbnail URL is going to be the entire little snippet of JSON that comes through that contains the URL. And then I have a formula set up in this Airtable column so that it cleans the JSON that surrounds the URL and only the URL remains. So this node is just updating the Airtable record. And I'm matching on the thumbnail idea. So it's going to be update record This is my base and table that I created. And then again, I'm matching on thumbnail idea and not the Airtable record ID. And then to get the thumbnail idea text, I just come back over to my webhook trigger, and then I just drag the thumbnail idea back over here, because that's always going to be the same. That's not going to change, and so therefore it matches up with the image that gets generated. And then again, I am mapping the thumbnail URL, and that's coming from the second HTTP request, and that's going to be the result JSON. Now, even if you don't have an Airtable script set up so that it's running automatically whenever a user clicks the generate script button, that it's going to send information to a webhook, there are a million different ways that you could trigger this workflow. So if I remove that trigger for now, I can also just store all of my prompts for thumbnails in an Airtable database or in Google Sheets, and then you can connect it that way. So if I have it set up to run on a schedule, let's say it runs every night at midnight, and any thumbnail idea that I have generated in my Airtable database, it's going to go ahead and create a thumbnail for that. So I could just let the schedule trigger run. It's going to grab all of the records that I have currently in Airtable. So you can just think of these as all of the thumbnail ideas that I've come up with. And this would be a good idea for if you're creating content, or if you have a client that creates content, then this is a way that you can make it super easy for them. If they have a content idea, you can take that content idea, workshop it with Claude or ChatGPT. I would recommend Claude, and say, hey, come up with a killer Nano Banana Pro prompt that's going to take the user's image and turn it into a professional click-worthy thumbnail. And then you can store those prompts here, and then it will generate the thumbnails for your client super easily without you having to lift a finger. And then it will generate those thumbnails for your client without you having to do that much work and without them having to do anything. And so if we are changing that trigger to the Airtable records or Google Sheets or whatever it is, the only thing that we'll need to change is come in here to this first HTTP request, scroll down toward JSON, which is now red because we changed the trigger. And in this case, I would just delete this JSON snippet right here from the prompt section. And then I would drag over the thumbnail idea, and now it operates the exact same. And even if you don't want to use a database like Airtable and you want it to be just kind of on demand, like I want to just generate a thumbnail whenever I want, then you can just connect it to an N8N form. And you could also use like Typeform or something like that. But then you can just do it on demand. So it's not running on a schedule. It's not happening in an automated way. You can just do it whenever you need a thumbnail. And then again, coming in here to this HTTP request, we want to go in here to the prompt. And again, we're deleting this part, which was an artifact of the old trigger that we had, and then just drag in the prompt. So there are a million different ways that you could do this, a million different ways you can trigger it. But I hope that this is stirring up some ideas that might help you with content creation, but certainly can help a client. And if you are going after anyone that is creating content on YouTube, that could be coaches, consultants, real estate pros, like there are just a million different people, but people who are creating content on YouTube, thumbnails are such a huge pain point. This is literally a way that you can get in the door with people. Like you could create 10 thumbnails for someone and say, hey, I went ahead and created these thumbnails for you. They don't need to know it only cost you 90 cents. Like, I don't know what you're paying currently for your thumbnails, but I'm willing to, provide 10 thumbnails for you per month for $100. I'm just saying, I'm not out here advocating for side hustles necessarily, but just the opportunity is so huge the way that Nano Banana Pro works. And I just want to show you some of the outputs that have been created just while I was testing this today. So there's the result that you've already seen. There's another one. That one's pretty cool. I love that one. And keep in mind, like, this is just the beginning. Like, I can tweak these prompts to my heart's content and really get granular in terms of how I want the model to generate something. So I can add a customized snippet, like this is the type of thumbnail I want you to create, or, just certain things that will specify it more to certain creators or certain content types. So the sky is the limit. This is with like bare bones prompting. Another thing I wanted to mention is whether you are generating content for yourself or you have a client that you're working with or that you want to work with that's generating content. Another AI tool that I highly recommend for content creation is Gling.ai, Gling.ai. It's a AI-powered video editor, $20 a month, massive time saver, saves me hours every month. And the last thing that I want to mention is if you haven't already seen the video on Claude skills, definitely check it out, because if you are someone that creates content or if you're working with a content creator and you want to offer them something that's super valuable, you can actually create a Claude skill that generates custom YouTube scripts in that person's own tone and style. So again, you can create something that's going to make content creation so much easier for them, allow them to like 2 or 3x their output with very little extra effort on their part. It positions you as just this superpower, and this could absolutely help you get your foot in the door with any content creator on YouTube. Now you know how to create professional level thumbnails in just minutes for less than a dime. So if you've wanted to start creating content, this is one less excuse for you. You can also just sell this system or sell thumbnails to creators on YouTube, coaches, real estate pros, small businesses, etc. Be sure to click the link down below and join my free school community and take part in the 4-week challenge to land your first or next AI client. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.